When money is created, it goes somewhere first. It's not you. Most people live under the comforting illusion that when a central bank prints $1 trillion, that money eventually spreads through the economy like a gentle rain, lifting every bank account and every salary with the same consistency. They believe that if the money supply grows, we all simply have more units of currency to trade. This is the greatest lie of modern economics. Money is not a flood that lifts all boats. It is a wave that has a specific point of origin, and those standing at the source receive the full power of the tide, while you are left to drown in the ripples. Today, we perform a system autopsy on the most guarded secret of the financial elite, the architecture of the gatekeepers. We are going to declassify exactly who stands at the front of the line and why their first touch of fresh money is the ultimate weapon of wealth transfer. To understand this betrayal, we have to travel back 5,000 years to the dusty plains of Mesopotamia, where the first real financial system was not built in a marketplace, but inside a temple. The great ziggurats were not just places of prayer. They were the world's first central banks and tax offices. The land legally belonged to the gods, which meant the priests were the world's first professional fund managers. These shadow priests controlled the grain, the labor, and the storage. When the harvest came in, it didn't go to the farmers first, it went to the ziggurat. The priest would then issue clay tablets, the first spreadsheets in human history, to record who owed what to the divine treasury. The first writing on earth was not poetry, it was accounting, and the ones who controlled the ledger were the ones who decided who ate and who starved. These priests were the original, first ones, who received the resources before they were redistributed to the masses. The system taught humanity a brutal lesson early. To control a society, you must first monopolize the resources they need to survive, under a sacred institution. As civilizations evolved, the gods were replaced by kings, and the clay tablets were replaced by metal coins, but the gatekeepers remained. By the 17th century, the model reached its most dangerous form with the creation of the Bank of England in 1694. The crown was broke from endless wars, and it turned to a small group of private financiers for a loan. In exchange for the capital, these financiers were given a revolutionary privilege, the right to issue banknotes backed by the state whose own debt. This was the birth of the modern bond trick, where the government borrows money that doesn't exist, and the bankers get to handle the flow of that new currency first. This arrangement turned debt into the new gold and bankers into the new priesthood. The Bank of England did not exist to serve the public. It existed to fund the state and profit from the interest paid by the taxpayers. The bankers who managed this debt became indispensable to the throne, standing at the very top of the financial fountain. When the government needed to fight a war or build an empire, it issued bonds, and these elite financiers were the first to touch the new credit. They used this first money to buy up resources, secure trade monopolies, and fund their own industrial expansions, while the currency still held its full value. By the time this money trickled down to the soldier in the trench or the worker in the factory, prices had already adjusted to the new supply. The worker was being paid in late money, while the elite had already captured the world's assets with early money. This phenomenon is known as the Cantillon Effect, named after the 18th century banker Richard Cantillon, who realized that money is never neutral. It enters the economy at a specific point, and whoever touches it first gains a massive advantage over everyone else. In Cantillon's day, it was the king's court and the great merchant houses. Today, it is the primary dealers and the megabanks. The first ones win because they are buying reality with a script that hasn't lost its ink yet, while you're forced to live in a world where the price of your survival is always one step ahead of your paycheck. The system is designed to reward the borrower at the top and punish the saver at the bottom. It turns thrift into a liability and ensures that no matter how hard you work, you're always providing a zero-interest loan to the system through the erosion of your time. History shows us that every empire that reaches this stage, where the gap between the producer and the consumer is managed by a secretive elite, is an empire walking toward a reset. From the debased silver of Rome to the clipped coins of medieval Europe, the logic never changes. The gatekeepers will always prioritize the stability of the system over the prosperity of the individual. They will print, they will borrow, and they will spend until the trust finally breaks. The question isn't whether the system is rigged. The question is why you were taught to believe it was fair. As we move into the modern era of digital alchemy, the gatekeepers have only become more invisible, and the bond trick has become the heartbeat of a global empire of debt. We have seen how the ancient priests of Mesopotamia and the bankers of 17th century London built the first walls of your financial prison. But the true mastery of the gatekeepers was not achieved until the summer of 1971. On August 15th, President Richard Nixon appeared on national television and announced that the United States would temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. This temporary measure never ended. It was a revolution that turned the entire world into a laboratory for fiat currency. From that night forward, Money stopped being a measure of real value and became a pure instrument of policy, backed by nothing but the word of the state. The anchor was cut, the rules of reality were severed, and the gatekeepers gained a power that would have made the kings of old weep with envy, the power to create infinite debt. Today, this power is wielded through a mechanism called quantitative easing, a polite term for digital alchemy. When a central bank decides the economy needs more liquidity, it does not print physical bills. It types numbers into a ledger and conjures trillions of dollars out of thin air. But remember the law of the fountain. This fresh money does not go to you. It flows directly into the accounts of the primary dealers, the megabanks, and elite investment firms that sit at the very top of the system. These are the modern shadow priests, who receive the currency before it has lost a single cent of its purchasing power. While you're sleeping, these first ones are using that new capital to buy up the world. They pour this freshly created credit into the stock market, luxury real estate, and global commodities. Because they spend the money first, they capture these assets at yesterday's prices. By the time this money trickles down to your paycheck or your savings account, its magic has already been spent. The ripple effect of their massive purchases has already driven up the cost of your rent, your food, and your energy. You are receiving late money, currency that has already been diluted by the feast of the elites. This is why the stock market can hit record highs while the middle class is drowning in debt. It is not a glitch. It is the Cantillon Effect in its final predatory form. The system survives only if debt keeps growing, like a shark that must keep swimming to breathe. Since 1971, the global mountain of debt has exploded to over $315 trillion, nearly 3 times the size of the entire global economy. This debt is never meant to be repaid. It is designed to be rolled over forever, ensuring that you remain a permanent debtor to the invisible creditors. Every dollar in your pocket represents a unit of debt born in a central bank vault, and every hour of your labor is a sacrifice made to service the interest on that debt. You are not working for wealth. You are working to maintain the illusion of stability for a system that views you as collateral, but the gatekeepers are now preparing the final evolution of their architecture, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. This is the endgame of the first money trap. When money becomes a programmable permission, the gatekeepers will no longer need to wait for ripples to reach you. They will control the flow of your value with the stroke of a key. Imagine money that has an expiration date, forcing you to spend it rather than save it. Imagine an account that can be frozen instantly if your behavior does not align with the narrative of the day. This is the total redistribution of sovereignty from the individual to the institution. The digital shackle is being forged in quiet committees, away from public debate, just like the Federal Reserve was born on a secret island over a century ago. So, what survives when the illusion of paper wealth finally shatters? History provides a cold but consistent answer. Real value cannot be printed or deleted by an algorithm. True wealth is found in the original Bitcoin, which is land, the finite stage upon which all life performs. It is found in gold, which has outlasted every paper empire in human history. It is found in specialized skills that solve enduring human needs, and in networks of trust that operate outside the official corridors of power. The first ones win because they control the story of money, and you have been trained to be a character in their script. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us 2,000 years ago, true freedom is not the accumulation of fortune, but the sovereignty of the mind and the refusal to be ruled by illusions. Finance. Through time does not tell these stories to spread fear, but to spread awareness. Because once you see the machine, you are no longer just a part of it. You gain the power to stand outside of it. The fountain of new money will keep flowing, and the ripples will keep devaluing your time. The only question is whether you will keep waiting at the bottom for the dregs, or if you will build your foundation on reality. In the next video, we will expose the exact path of newly created money, who receives it before prices rise, who touches it while it is still powerful, and why you are always at the end of the line. History has answers. I merely show you where to look. And if this deep financial journey has given you a new perspective, like the video and subscribe, because the real story begins the moment you recognize the system you are living inside.